What's up, people? So we're back with another one. I hope you all have been staying safe and staying free and having a good start to the week and enjoying that content. Now, this banger of a video that I'm bringing to you all today is all about Young Philly, Young P Diddy going to prison. So let's get into it. So I'm sure a lot would have known by now that Young Philly, Young P Diddy caught a rape charge last year in Perth, Western Australia, and as a lot would have thought, just like myself, that Young P Diddy, Young Philly just had one charge. No, no, no. Young P Diddy was out in Perth, Australia, doing the most though. So 2 days ago, a couple of news articles felt the need that the public had to be informed that Young Philly, Young P Diddy has been keeping up with his online football fantasies, and how Young P Diddy his score is above all of his peers, his pals of man like Ginge and Chunks and this and that and the third, but did release juicy information along with it that I'm sure a lot wouldn't know, just like myself. So Young Philly is facing 4 counts of sexual penetration without consent. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 though. The next count is 3 accounts on grievously bodily harm. And then for the third count, he has choking by strangulation. Young Philly, Young P Diddy was out there doing the most though. This guy really fucked up because, as I said in the Young Philly video of the downfall, he should have knew when he was wanting to do certain fetishes that Bunda was not into. He should have went and gave up to the bag to a bit of Bunda that was willing to do, his fetishes for the bag, just like their man in House of Parliaments that they do the exact same thing, but you have to give up the bread. He just didn't want to give up the bread though. Prime example, had to put that in there. Now, with this being said, it makes total sense now to why Young P Diddy was in his nice car driving 100 miles per hour with no fucks given, because he knows he's going to prison like his daddy Diddy for moving silly with his willy though. That is a big L, man. Total big L though, and it's quite sad to see because he got himself and Chunks got him into a position to where he should never have be in this predicament of to what happened. And I get, females and males can be vindictive and lie and be pathological liars, but this here is solid evidence that they have charged him with. Now, when he goes to court, I'm not too, sure on how the system works out in Australia, but I'm very familiar with the system in the United Kingdom, and I'm sure that with all of these counts that they have against Young Philly, Young P Diddy, they're definitely going to make him do a plea deal though. And only until I've come across this situation as to when that comes straight into my head. They've gave him like 8 counts. So on them 8 accounts, he surely, if he pleads guilty, they're gonna drop at least half or a quarter of them, and then he's only looking at a good couple of years still. Hey, nah, man, this is so wrong though. But with this being said, Young Philly, as I said before in the video, showed all of the signs to how he was in the stream. I just have to keep reinforcing that to people. He gave all of the red flags to when he started choking that girl on the live stream with IShowSpeed, and IShowSpeed was a bit concerned, but he wasn't concerned enough to say to Young Philly, like, what you doing, man? That's a bit wild what you're doing there though. And nor did the public or any of Young P Diddy's, Young Philly's, followers or following or supporters even pull him up on it though. Now, I truly do believe Young Chunks had kept Young Philly under wraps for so many years as a brother sort of thing, but there's only so much you can do to babysit someone until you give them enough rope, just like the situation with young Philly, and he does what he does though. Hey, no, there's only so much preventing you can do. Now, with this being said, with the whole situation, how people was coming out talking about this young female doing it for clout and money and this and that and the third, uh, there's still no update on this young female coming out publicly. No one knows who she is but young Philly and the legal team. So, really, this situation that took place was some sinister shit. As if it was all consensual, right? How is it that they were able to charge him, so people are saying, but without the statement of the victim, though? That doesn't make sense. And this is where people are puddling shit, which I don't believe whatsoever, because even if they did manage to charge him without the witness statement, that goes to show there was sufficient evidence that the police seen at that hotel room without that young woman's cooperation to see what he actually done to her, though. Her body physically was showing all of the signs and the whole story for them to be able to charge him if that was the case without her statement, which I don't think is the case though. So this whole situation with young Philly, like I said, I really do think now that he is going to prison, and with everything that's going on, he is definitely going to take a plea deal and he's going to serve a certain proportion amount of time in Perth, Australia. Now, I just want to say, I'm not saying that Australia is racist whatsoever. I'm not saying you lot are racist, but when I've watched Home and Away years ago, even still to this day, yeah, when I've seen like the police programs in Australia and shit, I've never seen a black person over there, though. I've not seen a Rasta, an African, Nigerian over there. You know, okay, you lot have the Samayans, or if that's what you call them, but they're not black people, though. And if young Philly does go to prison, he's kind of fucked then, because as far as I'm aware, from the documentaries I've seen on prison in Australia, Perth, it's all segregated like certain prisons in America, though. The whites stay with the whites and the blacks stay with the blacks and the Mexicans with the Mexicans. So when it comes for young Philly going to prison, he's gonna have a very rough time, especially being this famous person that's inside a prison for all of those mad charges, though. Because just to think of it, he definitely has to go into protective custody if that is the case and he does go to prison, though, because there's no way that he's gonna go in as someone who's very famous and has financial backing still, you know. And he ain't gonna be extorted inside of there, and I just don't see it. He definitely gonna go into protective custody. Now, there is another possible option as well, because I know Australia is a little bit like America, to where he might be able to pay this victim off. He may have that opportunity where the legal team says to him, yo, you have to give up all of that money that you earned from the white people them, and you have to give it over to the victim in order for you not to go to prison, though. So it will be an interesting situation to see how this all pans out. But either way, like I said, and I'm gonna say it again, it's a very sad situation. I'm not happy that, you know, a guy that I went to school with got himself into a position where he did, to fumble it like that. It's a bad look for us people from Southeast London. It's just not good at all. And it's disappointing, man. I ain't gonna lie, it's very disappointing. I ain't, you know, happy on anyone's downfall unless I really, really, truly hate them, and that's Opstar. And young Philly ain't no op like that. With this, I have to add in as well that all of young Philly's associates that was, you know, like Young Chunks and all of these, man, they have distanced themselves away from young Philly for a reason, which I totally understand now, is because it's gonna fuck up their money side when young Philly has been found guilty for all of these crazy wild charges. Because you think of it, for Chunks to stand with young P Diddy and for them to say, yeah, he's guilty, he's getting 5 years or whatever, his brand deals and endorsements really do crumble, and it impacts a lot of his, you know, associates images though. So I totally get now why they took all a step back. But either or, even if young Philly isn't found guilty of all of these charges, for example, which I don't see, but there's a possibility, because there's a possibility to everything. Young Philly's image is totally screwed. It's fucked now. And if it was just a load of allegations, which I don't believe so, you know, I don't think the police would have been able to have took him to court and charge him and get to where they have today without the charges being dropped, you know, throughout this whole process of time. So this here, you know, is a lesson for all of you young ones. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have certain fetishes and shit, make sure that if the bunda's not into your fetishes, man, go and find a bunda that will be into it or do what you want to do. And if not, you have to give up the money sometimes in order for you to fulfill those fantasies of your fetishes, though. And that's true life talks, because young Philly had how many bunda in that party, yeah, the after party or whatever, his shows, and you're telling me that one bit of bunda he took back to the hotel, that, you know, if she wasn't into what he was into, he couldn't have went into his DMs and found how many bit of bunda that would have been into it, though. That's where he messed up in many aspects, in my opinion, though, and I'm sure a lot would agree too. But I don't think young Philly is ever going to be coming back to the United Kingdom after all of this does take place. I think if he is sent to prison over Perth, Western Australia, I think he'll probably either stay there or he will go back to Barcelona, where his people them are from, though. And I ain't no disrespecting, but I don't see, you know, young Philly coming back to Britain after all of this madness that has been taking place, and, you know, feel like he's going to be able to just come back and just start living like that without everyone and the hassle of it, unless it's just a case of, you know, he comes back, his career's fucked, and life just carries on and continues without him, though, and them man just keep making their bread and that. But it is a sad situation all around. Like I said, do drop your comments and your thoughts on the situation. If you think young Philly, young P Diddy is going to prison, do stay safe, everyone. Hope you all have enjoyed the video, and I catch you all in the next one.